Cruising in 2021 is going to continue to require a level of flexibility as the protocols keep changing and changing on the islands as well as the cruise ships. I am saving some good information for the end. I'm Charlene of IslandJumper.travel, and this is Tuesday Tea Talks, where I kind of go over the news for the week in review. So the CDC has put most of the Caribbean islands in either level 4, very high, or level 3, high risk for travel. So just be aware of that as you're traveling to the Caribbean islands this year. Most of the Caribbean islands are requiring that not only are guests that are over 12 be vaccinated, but are also having a lot of mask mandates, and to various degrees depending on what island you're on. Some want you to have a mask on all the time, and some just when you can't social distance, or like if you're in a van or something, they want you to have your mask on. So different requirements per different island, so you might want to check that out depending on if that's the way you want to cruise, wearing a mask, and if you have your vaccination. So as I'd already talked about, most of the cruise lines are requiring guests to, regardless of their vaccination status, to require masks when inside and when they can't social distance, but not necessarily like in the pool area. When you're sitting by the pool, you don't need a mask there. So when you're outside, things are a lot more casual. Additionally, most of the cruise lines are requiring that you have a negative COVID test 2 days or less before you embark. And the rules for what kind of tests are very specific based on your vaccine status. So if it will depend not only on the cruise line, but it also would depend on the vaccine test you will need to take. So the exceptions to this right now, if you don't want to wear a mask on the cruise ship, so far Norwegian, Virgin Voyages, and Celebrity are not requiring that you wear a mask on board. You will have to wear them based on the island. It's just the same as everything. And meet any transportation requirements will also require you to wear a mask. Now, Virgin Voyages and NCL, as of the time of filming this on October 5th, are taking their COVID tests at the pier before you get on. Now, Celebrity will require that you have a test when you come to the pier. And again, this is regardless of your vaccine status. Now, Norwegian and Virgin are only allowing vaccinated guests, and Celebrity will only allow vaccinated guests if you're over 12. But if you're under 12, then obviously you can't get a vaccine, but they will allow children on there. Some sort of good news with the tight requirement of the 2-day period to get your test. Royal Caribbean has what they're calling a Plan B. So if you can't get a COVID test within that 2-day period of when you're going to cruise, you can make an appointment, and it's by appointment only. And it is at a very high cost. It's at $100 a guest to take a COVID test on site. Again, you have to have an appointment, and it is about 3 times as expensive as it would be if you had gotten the test beforehand. Like, you can order them and then do the telehealth, where you turn your camera on and you talk to the people, and they monitor your test and all that. And there's some really good videos on that these days. So if you kind of watch, there's a couple of those that are that you can watch from beginning to end for the whole process. So much easy with the telehealth things these days to get that test taken care of. So another thing, be sure you look very thoroughly at the website before you leave for the pier, before you leave to go to get on the ship, especially if you're flying from a ways away. There's been some kind of weird things that have happened. One of the cruise lines was allowing people to book cruises that they then, when they showed up to the pier, they said, no, you cannot cruise because you're not from the right country. We're not allowing you to cruise from your country right now. There have been people that have ended up with, like, one person in the party had a positive COVID test, so then the whole party got turned around. So they're kind of suggesting that you take maybe even just an at-home test before you get on the plane, so you kind of know your status before you go. And definitely read very thoroughly if you've got the right documentation and if you are truly eligible to take a cruise at this time. So things are still a little crazy out there. Most of the cruise lines are asking that if you have future cruise credit, that you go ahead and get your cruise booked. Obviously you don't have to take it by the end end of this year, but they would really like to get it booked by the end of this year. So I think they kind of know where they stand, and also their future cruise credit is going to, a lot of them are going to be set to expire. So really be mindful of that. If you know you have future cruise credit, get on the website of the cruise line that you have credit with, and be sure to know when that cutoff date is. This may be the first holiday season that we will be able to be around friends and family, so you might get distracted and forget that you have future cruise credit and you need to get something booked. So definitely check that out before you lose that credit. So in the before times, we travel agents a lot of times would fill out your check-in paperwork for you, especially when you were booking through Princess or maybe one of the other premium lines. This is really not allowed anymore. Most of the cruise lines spent the lockdown period really beefing up their phone apps, and they're really leveraging those heavy for check-in, for getting a copy of all your documentation, and then they can just like check it off, confirm that that is indeed what you have with you. So be ready to have a number of weeks out. Be sure that you have loaded the app on your phone and that you've started filling out the information, especially if you have a little bit of trouble. A lot of times the manifestos, I believe they have to seal those manifestos 3 days out, so you've got to get all your check-in done before that. So don't wait till the last minute, because if you have problems with your app or maybe your phone service glitches or whatever, that could cause you to miss your cruise. So this is really becoming a hard requirement. They also are letting you, are really kind of requiring you to use your phone app for it's easy to know what's going on. Instead of handing out the pieces of paper with the schedules, you're able to like scan a QR code and get menus, and really just kind of know in general what's going on the ship. And a lot of them have apps that if you don't have to use Wi-Fi in order to like communicate to other people in your party that are on the ship at that time. So they've really made those systems pretty robust, and they are kind of making the check-in part mandatory on the phone. If you don't have a phone app, make sure that you are bringing printed copies of everything with you. And a lot of people are taking printed copies if they have them at all available. Some of the cruise lines, I know like Virgin Voyages, I was looking at check-in and it is only available on the phone. It's not available to get checked in on the website. So I'm going to have to rely on the phone, and obviously I'll have my hard copies, which I would have anyway, of my passport and vaccine card. But definitely be ready. So on to the good news. So starting October 6th, Virgin Voyages will be sailing for the first time out of Miami with paying passengers. So very exciting for them to finally get going in the United States with their beautiful Scarlet Lady, and I cannot wait to be on that ship later this year. Wonder of the Seas will be sailing out of Fort Lauderdale from March of 2022 through the middle of April 2022, and then the Wonder will be going over to Europe to do some cruises over there. That ship was designed for the Asian market, but due to kind of the restrictions in the Asian markets with everything that's going on, they were bringing it to US and then to Europe first. So this will be an opportunity to get on the largest cruise ship on planet Earth, out of a port that's close here to the United States, and I can hardly wait to get on that ship. And we were scheduled to be on her sailing come 2022. So Carnival's Victory has become Carnival's Radiance, and they will be sailing out of Long Beach and in December, and that was a $200 million makeover. So I'm sure she's going to be exquisite, and I'm sure that market is really looking forward to her sailing. And lastly, so the Virgin Islands Port Authority has worked out an extended deal with Royal Caribbean for St. Thomas and St. Croix to add amenities to those two ports. And what they're trying to do is, in addition to what they're trying to do, they're trying to make like St. Croix large enough to be able to accept the Oasis class ships, which would be really fantastic, because right now the Oasis can be kind of limited on the ports of call that because that large ship can go to. So it'll be really exciting to add St. Croix to their itinerary. And I know when we were in St. Croix on a much smaller ship, they really were hoping that things would expand and they would get some bigger ships and ships more often. So hopefully that will turn out to be good for them, and not like be careful what you ask for, you just might get it kind of situation. So very excited that the bigger ship is going to be headed to St. Croix, because St. Croix is a really wonderful little island, and one that it's harder to get to. So that's it for Tuesday Tea Talks. I'm Charlene of IslandJumper.travel, and until next time, live your truth and live well.